Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about environmental issues related to Zambia, there's one name that comes up easily, Mizu Eco Care. And then a very common question is, what does Mizu do? What does Mizu stand for? So I have the executive director with me. We're trying to find out what Mizu means. This is Mr. Timothy Piri. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, David.
So we'll get right into the bone of contention here. What does Mizu mean?
Mizu is a Chewa word.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mizu means roots, plural. Mizu Eco Care. The reason why we named ourselves Mizu Eco Care is because we are rooted in taking care of the environment, ecosystems. So hence the Eco Care. If you look at our logo, you will notice we have Mother Earth.
Yes.
Then hands that are holding Mother Earth. Then you have a tree that's rooted or embedded into the planet.
Yes.
So literally, it's about being rooted, having the passion to take care of planet Earth. That's what Mizu Eco Care is all about and means.
How did Mizu come about?
Mizu came about because as an individual, my background is environmental education.
Yes.
That's what I used to lecture.
Yes.
So my passion has always been the environment, and I really thought there was a need to get into the environmental space, the NGO space, and practice everything I had learned over the years.
So that was going to be different from the university teaching, or
yes, because university teaching is about you being in the lecture room.
Okay.
Imparting knowledge, imparting skills. Then once in a while, you move out into the field. And for me, my passion was always being out in the field.
Hands-on, being in the field where the work is supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And just imparting the knowledge in someone, and then they go and do the work on your behalf.
Exactly. So there was that need for me to be in the environment where I felt I thrived best.
Yes.
Then this vision I had intersected with my brother's vision as well.
Okay.
Who also graduated from WUNS and did developmental studies and sociology.
Yes.
So we had that intersected passion and thought we could collaborate, start an NGO, and implement our vision.
Yes.
So Mizu Eco Care was literally meant to be a platform for mindset change. Mindset change through environmental education.
Okay.
For us, that was a gap we saw. If you look at the way most environmental problems are solved,
yes,
it's about people getting into the field and solving those problems. It's literally a hardware approach. But there isn't much emphasis on the mindset.
Engineering the third party.
Exactly. Which is the real cause of all environmental problems. And if you look at it from a balanced point of view, if you only deal with the hardware aspects on the ground, you will solve those problems.
You're remedying the symptoms, forgetting the...
Exactly. You need to remedy the actual problem, which is a flaw in the way people perceive the environment, the world. Unless that perception is set right, they'll go back and repeat that same problem. So the solution has to be twofold. You deal with the hardware aspects, reduction of deforestation, reduction of pollution, solving hunger, stopping poaching. Those are fine, but you're dealing with the hardware part.
Yes.
If the mindset is not changed, they'll go back to polluting, cutting down trees, poaching. So you need to work on the mindset.
Yes.
If you don't deal with the mindset, you solve half the problem. Hence our emphasis on mindset change. Apart from that, another important thing we wanted to be is a platform where people can have an outlet to say what they feel about the environment, to complain, to call for help.
Yes.
And half the work we do actually involves people getting in touch with us and saying, there's this problem here. Can you tell this story? Or can you come and help solve this problem?
Mhm.
So being a platform where people can run to for help, a platform where people feel they can release information to the public was definitely part of that original vision we had. And I think so far we are happy with the response we've gotten from people in that aspect.
So eventually, one of the information that you put out was related to Forest 27. And there's been a debate about Forest 27. Are environmentalists in general just objecting to development, or there is a core reason why Forest 27 should be an eye opener to everyone that is living in Lusaka or in Jeddah in Zambia? Why Forest 27?
The reason why we were interested in Forest 27 is because it's the last forest remaining in Lusaka district. So we used to have Forest 26 and Forest 27 as the last two. Then Forest 26 was degazetted. Half of it became the Lusaka National Park. And we don't complain about that because the ecosystem aspect has been preserved through the national park. So that was a brilliant idea. The other half became the MEFES project, which leads to degradation.
Yes.
So that kind of development we are against. A development that degrades an important ecosystem that had a specific ecological function for the city of Lusaka. Remember, the original design for Lusaka city was that it should be a garden city. It's a city meant to flourish by bringing out its environmental gems. So the moment you take away the environmental aspect, trees, forests, plants, you are going against the original concept upon which the city was founded.
Yes.
Then you have Forest 27, which was also degazetted, portions of it. Bit by bit, they were being degazetted until you remain with less than half. But this is a recharge zone for the entire city.
When you mean recharge zone, what do you mean by that?
Recharge zone is an area where water enters the ground to get into the underground water system.
Okay.
That you need as a city because not all your water is going to come through the council or from Kafue River. A huge number of people depend on water that comes from the underground through boreholes. That water goes down through specific points. It's not every point of the surface that's going to let water into the underground. So that's a recharge zone. That's one of the reasons why that place was gazetted into the forest, so that it's protected as an entry point for water into the underground. So when you begin to start developing it, you remove the trees and replace them with concrete. You are defeating the purpose of having that ecosystem as a recharge zone. It's also the source for the Chalimbana River.
Okay.
So again, if you want the Chalimbana River to remain healthy and continue flowing, you sustain the source of that river. You sustain the areas around that source so that you do not degrade it. But the moment you start developing the area, you degrade the ecosystem. The quality reduces. That means the ability of water to be collected into the stream reduces. And everyone else downstream that's supposed to benefit from that river and has benefited from it for hundreds of years suddenly begins to lose that benefit. So why should the majority of the people lose a benefit? Because a few people feel it's within their right and power to own personalized plots in the area. That is not fair. It's not just. When you look at the people that got the plots in Forest 27, the majority of them are powerful, well-to-do individuals. individuals.
Okay.
So yes, there was a certain section that was put out for the average Zambian, but that was just to make sure people don't complain.
Yes.
Behind the original idea was for powerful people to have land because land was running out in Lusaka. The truth is, Zambia doesn't have a shortage of land. Plots could have easily been allocated in Shimavala, in Silver Rest area, heading towards Chongwe. We still have a lot of land. 752,614 square kilometers of land is a lot of land for a population of between 20 to 21 million people. Zambia does not have a shortage of land. That's a false claim.
So that can be used as a justification for.
No.
Then the argument comes in to say all these projects go through Zema. What to greenlight such a project when they understand the consequences of such?
Zema is the mother body mandated with protecting all environmental assets we have. Then you have when technocrats, those civil servants in government, are trying to do their job, they will not do that job freely if they feel they are going against an appointing authority who is a politician.
Who has a plot in that location.
Exactly. And that's been the challenge, because the question we've all asked is, what does Zema say? What does Forestry Department say? What does WOMA say about this water resource?
Yes.
And you will notice in the previous regime, all those departments were quiet at the time we were raising the issue of Forest 27
Yes.
being protected.
Yes.
And they were quiet because the people involved in that particular issue were their superiors. So we need to get to a point where these technocrats, these bodies mandated to protect the environment, are given free rein to make the final decision in the best interest of nature. Because their responsibility is to protect these assets that are owned by Zambians. Government is the people. They work for the people. So they're protecting resources for the Zambian people. The allegiance of any government department, any agency, is to the people first, to the environment first, not to the government or the appointing authority. But human nature being what it is, people will fear to displease the appointing authority because that has implications on their well-being.
They say you don't bite the hand that feeds you, in as much as
Exactly.
Okay, so where we stand at the moment, the issue of Forest 27, where is it at? Is there any progress, or we're still at square one?
When the New Dawn government came into power,
yes,
they were very swift. One of the first things they did was to visit that particular area. 2 or 3 ministers visited and stopped the development in Forest 27. That stopping of the development, however, has been on paper. Okay, because on the ground, even now as we speak, wall fences and houses are still coming up. So there are two sides to this. There is what is being said
publicly,
yes, and what's actually happening on the ground. I'll give you my personal perspective on the New Dawn government. When the New Dawn government was in the opposition, they were very clear about what their environmental position was. When we released the Forest 27 documentary, the majority of the political platforms, social media platforms that shared that video were actually UPND platforms.
Current government.
And we have the current Minister of Local Government in Parliament declaring we will demolish those houses when we get into power.
Yes.
So their position on the environment was very, very clear. We received a lot of opposition and persecution from the then government because we were deemed anti-development. And actually, a good number of people were saying we are being sponsored by UPND because their environmental agenda intersected with what the environmental NGOs were also pushing for. Fast forward to the present situation, that opposition party becomes the New Dawn government.
Yes.
And the New Dawn government starts out with a bang. The head of state creates a new ministry that's called Green Economy and Environment. As environmentalists, we were cheering. Amongst the first trips he makes is to New York, UN General Assembly, and he pushes his agenda as the Republican president, HH, pushes the agenda for a green economy, environmental sustainability. We are hitting all the right environmental notes. He attends COP27, another huge determinant of the future of the planet in terms of climate change solutions.
Yes.
And environmental sustainability. Again, we hit all the right notes. Our nationally determined contributions are right on point. So the message we're giving out to the world is that the environment matters to us. So the first things they are doing as a new government match what they used to say when they were in opposition. But the challenges come in for those of us that are watching the whole process from the time they were in the opposition to now in power.
Yes.
Now we see a bit of compromise.
Okay.
Because now the development in Forest 27 is not being stopped. The Minister of Lands, Honorable Mchima, is now talking about a study that has to be done. And there is need for £500,000 to conduct a study to discover what?
What's
to find what? What information, what new information, groundbreaking information will come up that Forestry Department, WWF, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Lands, WOMA, Lucy, the NGO, what new data do you want to find that is not already documented? Lusaka City Council has a lot of data. What new information do we honestly want to find that we do not already know? My personal opinion is there is a compromise. We are not standing on the original agenda we had to protect the environment.
Okay.
The same thing goes with other areas like Kasanka National Park.
Yes.
Kasanka National Park is a national park that has an investor coming in and beginning an agricultural project in the park's GMA, okay, game management area. They begin these developmental activities without getting any permission. Fast forward to now, Zema goes in and gives them an opportunity to have a public hearing.
Okay.
In my personal opinion, they should have never had the privilege of being given a public hearing because they had already started the project without permission. Okay? So those people should have been given no opportunity to continue developing. The development should have simply been cancelled. But they were let off the hook. A public hearing was given. The announcement was that feedback from that hearing would be given in 2 weeks. It's been months now. We do not know what the feedback from that hearing is. That's compromise to me. When you have an environmental agenda, your agenda represents royalty to the environment. It represents commitment to your people that you will protect the natural resources on their behalf.
Yes.
That commitment, that vision, that agenda does not change just because you come into government.
True.
In fact, being in government should only strengthen your resolve to implement that particular vision.
Yes.
So it's these compromises that now make us start asking questions. So is it true that when people come into power, they suddenly change? Because that's what makes politics come out like a dirty game. Because we see people that have principles we admire
Clear-cut principles.
suddenly change when they are in power. There should be no change when the vision is to protect the environment.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether you're in opposition or in power. Protect the environment. Protect the welfare of your people. Do not compromise because now you are in power. That is a contradiction. That is a sad development. And we hope the current New Dawn government will remain committed to protecting nature wherever it is under threat. We are not saying development is wrong, as we're always accused. We are saying we want balanced development. We want sustainable development because we realize that development on its own that continues to damage the environment will leave us in trouble. We'll end up with climate change and its effects. No one is happy when we see flooding and runoff water all over the place. That is because we're not balancing up the development and the protection of the environment.
Yes.
When the soil is exposed because there are not trees, you cannot hold the water from the rains when it begins to flow on the surface. So when we say let's balance the development between keeping some trees and developing some areas, it's because we want to prevent those negative impacts. It's the balance we want, not over concentration on only development. Let's balance up the two.
There's the debate that has been going on in the media recently. What are the benefits of having the Victoria Falls area designated as a World Heritage Site? And what are the disadvantages if that's taken off?
So when we talk about the Victoria Falls, Mosotonia Falls,
yes,
we have to look at the area from a holistic perspective.
Yes.
We're talking about the Mosotonia National Park.
Yes.
In connection to the Victoria Falls.
Yes.
It is a World Heritage Site because the Victoria Falls, the Mosotonia Falls, is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world.
On Earth.
Yes. So when you talk about natural wonders in Africa, it's the only natural wonder we have. South Africa has even been good at marketing that natural wonder. They market it as if it's within South Africa. They market it better than Zimbabwe and Zambia.
True.
So, because we have been given the privilege by God to host this natural wonder, it's important to protect that ecosystem in which that natural wonder is found.
Yes.
Hence, the reason why that area was declared a World Heritage Site. Why is it under threat? It is under threat because the developmental activities that are coming into the area are now threatening that particular ecosystem. You even have plans to have the Batoka Dam developed in Batoka Gorge. But once you develop that dam, once you flood that gorge with water from that dam, won't that compromise the quality of that ecosystem?
It will.
Won't that compromise the Zambezi River?
It will.
Will the Victoria Falls be the same? So if you compromise the status of this natural wonder, only one in Africa, then the World Heritage Site, through our Heritage Commission here, has the right to say, you know what? You are blessed with one of the greatest wonders in the world, but you don't care to take care of it. We will remove the status of World Heritage Site, because a World Heritage Site is a location that's of significance, cultural significance, natural resource significance to not only the people of that area, to not only the people of that city, Livingston, to not only the people of Southern Province, to not only the people of Zambia, Southern Africa. It's a heritage for the whole world.
Human race.
You are protecting it for the whole world.
Yes.
That's the reason why it's not just a national heritage site, it's a world heritage site. So the responsibility is beyond what we want as Zambians.
Yes.
It's about what the whole world wants. It's a resource that's meant to be protected for the entire planet, for everyone alive today. So if we compromise its quality through development, then of course its status as a World Heritage Site will be brought into question. And that's the reason why we are personally against the making of the Batoka Dam. Because when you talk about the Batoka Dam, you have to look at the Zambezi River as a whole.
Yes.
The Zambezi River as a whole is an ecosystem. This ecosystem flows through the Kaza Conservation Area, Kavango Zambezi Transboundary Conservation Area, which is one of the largest land conservation areas in the world. It's an area that covers Zambia, Angola, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe. Again, this area is not for one country, it's mandated to 5 countries to take care of it. So the wildlife that roams in this area is collectively owned. The ecosystems we protect in this area are collectively protected, not only for the 5 countries, for the whole world. That's the reason why it's been declared a conservation area. The Zambezi River flows through this area. It has 2 big dams, some of the biggest dams in the world, the Kariba for hydroelectric production and the Kahorabasa in Mozambique. These 2 dams are already an investment enough on the Zambezi. You do not need a 3rd dam. Instead of trying to focus on hydroelectric power, let's remove the pressure on hydroelectric power. Let's look at solar energy. When we talk about our Rural Electrification Authority, their mandate is to provide electricity to everyone, but hydroelectric power is expensive. Why? Because we have a very high deforestation rate.
Okay.
And because of that very high deforestation rate, the ecosystems that are meant to be water catchment areas for the Zambezi are being degraded. The Zambezi is not getting as much water today as it got 20, 50 years ago. So why will we continue putting pressure on hydroelectric power when the amount of water we're getting into these dams is actually reducing? And that's part of the pressure for increasing the price for electricity. Let's look for alternatives. Let's look at biofuels. Let's look at solar energy. The Rural Electrification Authority project and mandate to provide electricity to every Zambian should not just be about hydroelectric power. It should also be about other forms of energy. Solar energy being one of them, biofuels being one of them. So the emphasis on dams doesn't have to be there if we have the opportunity to find alternative energy sources. I'll emphasize this point again.
Yes.
The pressure on hydroelectric power is enormous because it can only be produced using water. We call it a renewable form of energy, but in reality, it is not because it depends on water continuously flowing, water that comes from the water cycle.
Yes.
But if we disturb the trees, that water cycle is also disturbed.
Yes.
So it's no longer renewable unless the trees are kept intact. And we are not keeping the trees intact
because of deforestation.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, just stand by. We'll be right back on the other side. Yes.